Welcome to Harkins Haven. So, as mentioned in a previous video, we just bought a whole pig. Now, when we bought it, it was supposed to be about 145 pounds. Turns out it was 180, so it's a pretty big pig. About half of this is gonna go to my parents' house, but we have to split it up. So these 4 boxes are what we got. So I'm gonna lay it out on the table and separate it out into parts. So we got some hams, some roasts, some loins, a lot of ground pork and a lot of ground sausage. And then we also asked for the fat and the bones. So we're just gonna lay it all out and see what we got. So what I have learned since we've done this is that if you get bone in hams and butts and roasts and such, you actually will get less ground, so less ground sausage or pork. So our hams are bone in, our roasts are bone out. I think the ham's the only thing with a bone in it. So I might make some different choices if I were doing this again, but this is our first time ordering a whole pig like this, so we're still in the learning process. We're also going to see how we eat through this over the next couple months. It might be worth getting more of it into ground sausage because that's what we use most. So this box is just plain ground pork. There's about 18 pounds in there. These are each separated into 1 pound packages. Let me do it the right way. And then here we have the ribs. They're they're short ribs, so they're cut into small pieces. There's 4 packs of those. This is a Boston butt, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 Boston butts, 1, 2, 3, 4 hams. So we chose to have both the hams and the Boston butts. Half of the pig was done that way and the other half was just ground. These are pork roasts, a bunch of little pork roasts. This is all the back fat. This right here is what's called Midlands, what they're calling it. That's the pork belly. It's going to become bacon. Those are tenderloins. Those are all ribs, or not ribs, bones, all the bones. And then that package is all sausage. They do have a sausage blend from the processor, so that's about 18 pounds of sausage. We'll see if we like their sausage or not. Some of what we want to play with the ground pork is making our own sausage. So one of the things that I want to do is weigh some of these, because I know that these little ground pork and sausages are in 1 pound packages because that's what we asked them to do. But I don't know how many pounds these hams or roasts or whatever, how they package them, because we just asked them for the hams to cut them in half. And these pork roasts, we just told them about 6-inch pieces, which is what they are, but I don't know what that translates to in weight. So we're gonna weigh some of this. That will give us it'll give us a total for how much meat we actually got, and then how many bones and fat we got, and that will let us know sort of what we paid per pound, because we originally paid per hanging weight, so it was 180 pounds hanging weight. But we'll see what that translates to as far as meat goes, and then when I pull them out, I'll know how much they are when I try to cook them. So let me get a Sharpie and we'll start weighing stuff. So P.S. if you guys have any cool recipes for how you do your sausage, go ahead and stick that in the comments, because we're going to be playing with that a lot. Okay, so we're going to rethink this, because this Sharpie is not writing on frozen meat, which sort of seems obvious. So I'm just going to write down the weights on a piece of paper. That will help me sort of be able to calculate what's going on here. Okay, so while I am weighing those, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what the final results were. So we got 4 packages of ribs for a total of 6.4 pounds, 4 butts for a total of 21.7 pounds,
4 hams for a total of 22.8 pounds, 2 loins for a pound, and 8 roasts for a total of 13.8 pounds, 2 portions of stomach for a total of 17.2 pounds, 18 pounds of ground pork, and 19 pounds of ground sausage. So that's a total meat weight of about 80 pounds. We also had 20 pounds of fat and 19 pounds of bones. So all in all, we had, like I said, 80 pounds of meat, and then about 40 pounds of other various items that are going to be turned into other good things for our kitchen.
So we're going to go ahead and get this meat into the freezer. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and stick some of these bones straight into the roaster oven and start making some broth out of them, because that way I just don't have to put them in the freezer. So this is my 17-quart roaster oven, and I am just going to open up a couple of these packs of bone and dump.
Just so you know, this roaster oven holds a heck of a lot of bones, which always surprises me how many fit in here.
So I'm just going to fill this up with water, and then we'll let it stay in here overnight. It does have a temperature gauge, so I usually leave it between 150 and 200 overnight. And then tomorrow we'll check it and see, and then probably go ahead and can this up, because this will be quite a lot of broth. And then probably we'll run the bones again at least one more time and get what we can. I do sometimes salt my broth, but sometimes I don't. But I don't usually put a lot of seasonings in it, and then we can just season it when we use it based on what we're using it in. Probably need one more pack of bones. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and put all the bones in here, and then we'll just run it through extra times if it's not. If we think it can handle it. So I'll come back and check this again in a few minutes once these bones have had some chances to thaw a little bit, so I can squish them down a little more. And we'll see at that point if it needs more water.
So the last step is getting all of this meat into the freezer. And as you saw on our freezer video, we have organized our freezer using these reusable bags. That means that we can just lift out a bag if I need to get to something underneath it. I am also putting what's going to my parents' house in our freezer for right now. So we're doing that in bags as well. And then we're going to just carry this all out to the freezer. And I will say that our freezer was full to the maximum when we got all of this in there. So it's a good thing that we did the freezer clean out first, or we would not have had enough space. Okay, so the leftover products from our pig are our fat and our bones. So the fat we're going to render, but that's going to be a separate video because I'm running out of time. And we're doing bone broth right now with the bones like I showed you. So we've canned up our bone broth. This is not a canning tutorial, so I'm not going to show you all of it, but here's a few clips of what we did. And we ended up with both quarts and pints. So a couple things that I learned. The fat on these bones is way different. So this is a chicken broth right here, and you can see the color difference is pretty intense. This one's a lot lighter, and this one is a lot darker. It could be because the bones were a little bit more roasty, but I roast our chickens too, so I don't know. There also, the fat layer on this one is a lot more. Some of the from the first batch are insane. This is fat. So if I were doing this again, I might try to take some of that off. This is the first time I've ever done pork broth, and I don't know that I've ever bought pork broth at the store or anything, so we're gonna have to see what we use this for. We chose to do some of it in quarts because we use a lot of our quarts of chicken broth when we make rice. Because this is 4 cups of liquid, you put in 2 cups of rice, we stick it in our rice maker, it's great. It gets a little bit more flavorful rice, and you get a lot of that nutrients into the rice, so you're eating it. We also did some in pints because if I'm making a recipe like cream of chicken soup, or I'm using it as a pasta thick sauce or something, oftentimes I only need like a cup or 2. So that's what we would use these for. So we have a little bit of a mix. So far I have So far I have 9 quarts and 5 pints. There is a third, so that's two batches. There's a third roaster oven full on the same set of bones going right now. So I'll probably get at least 7 or so more quarts. And then that will probably be done with the bones. I'm not 100% sure because I've never done this before, but I'm thinking that they're probably going to be about worn out. I am going to see, depending on how smooshy the bones are, if I can grind them up and make a little bit of a garden additive, even if I don't get them super fine like bone meal, but it would be the same concept that I can add to our compost. So we'll see. You'll see all of that if I make that happen in a different video. So I think that's going to be all for this one for right now. So we will catch you soon.